This is Pattern Interrupt, a short episode designed to gently disrupt a belief or habit that may be quietly shaping how you feel in dating. It doesn't feel like fear when you're doing it. It feels like care. It feels like initiative. It feels like being the kind of person who shows up fully, who doesn't wait around, who makes things happen rather than hoping things will happen. It can feel honestly like one of your better qualities. The ability to anticipate what's needed and provide it, to keep the energy moving, to hold things together when they might otherwise drift. Overfunctioning in relationships is one of the most well-disguised patterns there is because it borrows the appearance of generosity. It looks like effort. It looks like investment. From the outside, and often from the inside too, it looks like love. But if you slow it down and look at what's actually driving it, what the behavior is in service of, a different picture often emerges. Overfunctioning is what happens when your anxiety about an outcome gets expressed through doing. When the uncertainty of not knowing whether someone is as invested as you are gets managed by making yourself indispensable. When the fear of things drifting gets addressed by ensuring that you are always the one holding them in place. It's not conscious usually. You're not sitting down and deciding to manage the relationship. It happens automatically, the way all anxiety-driven behavior does, as a response to a felt threat, before you've had a chance to examine whether the threat is real. And here's what it tends to look like in early dating. You send the follow-up message when the conversation has gone quiet, even when a reasonable amount of time hasn't passed. You suggest the next plan when he hasn't yet, because the silence of no plan feels like evidence of fading interest. You smooth over something that felt slightly off in an interaction, with a warm message, with a joke, with something that resets the tone, before giving the slight offness room to resolve itself naturally. You work to make every interaction easy, positive, frictionless, because friction feels like risk. None of these things are wrong in isolation. The problem isn't any single behavior. The problem is the pattern, and what the pattern communicates, both to him and to you. To him, consistent overfunctioning can communicate something that you don't intend. It can communicate that you will manage the relationship's emotional temperature on behalf of both of you. That initiative and follow through aren't things that he needs to bring because you'll provide them. And that the connection will be maintained regardless of what he contributes because you're already doing that work. This isn't a criticism of the men who received this. It's a natural response to a dynamic. People tend to show up at the level that a relationship requires. When one person is already filling the space, the other person doesn't need to. To you, overfunctioning communicates something equally worth examining. That the relationship as it actually is, without your management of it, isn't something that you trust to be okay. That his natural level of engagement without your supplementation might not be enough. And that uncertainty about that is so uncomfortable that you would rather manage it out of existence than sit with it and find out what's actually there. The honest question that overfunctioning avoids is, what would this look like if I stopped holding it together? And that question is uncomfortable because the answer might be clarifying in ways that you're not sure that you want. It might reveal that he moves towards you naturally on his own and that your management has been unnecessary. Or it might reveal that without your effort maintaining the energy, the connection flatlines, and that the dynamic that you've been sustaining with your own effort isn't actually mutual. Both of those are useful pieces of information. Neither is available while you're overfunctioning. The interruption that this episode offers isn't to stop caring, because caring is not the problem. The interruption is notice when what you're calling care is actually the management of your own anxiety. And notice when you're doing something because it's genuinely generous and when you're doing it because the alternative, which is waiting, not knowing, letting the situation breathe, feels intolerable. And that noticing is where the shift begins. Because not in doing less necessarily, but in understanding why you're doing what you're doing and whether the person in front of you actually needs it or whether you do it for reasons that have nothing to do with him. Genuine care can hold uncertainty. It can extend and then wait. It can offer without needing to immediately fill every silence, resolve every ambiguity, and smooth over every rough patch. That kind of care is slower, quieter, and more powerful than overfunctioning. And it leaves room for him to show you who he actually is, which is ultimately the most useful information that you can have. If this landed, there's more in the private podcast where I go deeper into what overfunctioning is actually protecting you from and what it costs you in terms of what you're able to see clearly. That's waiting for you in the show notes. This episode is complete as it is. Stay steady, and I'll see you next time.